All right, everyone. Well, welcome to this evening's event on Beyond the Bedroom, Reclaim Your Wellness through Touch, Talk, and Trust. We have the lovely Karimah Cornelius-Stith with us. She is a sex therapist, so much more. I'm going to actually let her introduce herself. She's known to some of you, but to my audience, she may be introducing herself the first time. So, Karimah, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Tomi. So, everyone, my name is Karimah Cornelius-Stith, and I am a certified sex therapist. I'm also a certified specialist in anger management. I've been a therapist for over 20 years, and I'm also the author of Touch, Talk, Trust, an intimacy workbook that I cannot wait to share more about. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thanks for being here. And one thing I really appreciate about you is just your honesty and you're just so practical and down to earth. And for those of you who are new to both of us, know that we both keep it real. There's no such thing as taboo conversations. We're here to talk about something that is an important part of each of our lives, whether you're in a relationship or not in a relationship. But especially if you're in a relationship, this is very important. This recording will be available later, and we'll be posting it on YouTube and most likely on LinkedIn. You can reach out to either one of us for that recording. With no further ado, we'll start. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to check it, type in the chat. We'll definitely have a dedicated Q&A session at the end. But I mean, if you have a burning question, just drop it there so you don't forget, because that happens. So let's start with a question for all of us. When was the last time you truly felt connected to yourself, your partner, and your purpose? Now, I want you to kind of think about that. Pause. Like, truly feel like one with yourself, most importantly, your partner, and your purpose. And if you can't remember that part, or you don't think you've ever really been connected with all three, this could be the start of something amazing, a journey that you take to reconnect with yourself. You see, tonight isn't about perfection, okay? We're not about being perfect because none of us are perfect, and perfect is actually quite boring. It's about alignment. It's about discovering or rediscovering balance in the world that often pulls us from left to right and takes us away from that alignment.
So, when we talk about sexual wellness, what is the first things that come to your mind? Is it pleasure? Is it performance or something a bit deeper?
That's a really good question because in our world, when people think about sexual wellness, it's very performative. It's very transactional. That's the way it's often portrayed on media.
It is. But I want us to be able to see it in a very holistic way tonight. We're trying to redefine these definitions or these connotations that we've had about sexual wellness and overall healing because it is very holistic. So, sexual wellness is the pulse of how we heal, how we connect, and ultimately how we thrive. It touches every domain of our lives: physical, emotional, relational, and even professional. Because Dr. Tomi, pleasure is actually healing. It's not cliche, it is truth.
That reminds me of the song Sexual Healing, back in the day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Truth is that you should, after this, like, go play it and maybe help you get
We
into
got
that
to think
zone,
something different this time.
right? It
Because
really,
intimacy is really a wellness practice.
Mhm. Exactly. It's,
It's
it's
more than just a physical sexual act. It's what we actually are doing every day to connect.
exactly. And to just think about it a different way. I don't know if you guys have heard of a late psychologist, Dr. Abraham Maslow. He had this triangle, hierarchy of needs, he called it, right? And the top is like self-actualization, where all your goals harmonize, come together, you've reached that true goal, that purpose you have. But at the bottom, a fundamental need that we all have, he had food, like we can't go that long without food, maybe
No.
few weeks, months, maybe if you have a little extra reserves, right situation. Air, I can probably go like 15 seconds without air, water, but he also put sex, right? So it's there. And this was a long time ago before like TVs and the internet. We
Absolutely.
recognize this is very important, even though, as you said, Karima, our world has attached so many often negative connotation, and there's also been a um, abuse of power where, sex is involved or other situations.
But tonight we're focusing on the aspect of how intimacy can actually be helpful to our physical bodies, to our mental body, to our mental life, and also in other aspects for our overall well being.
I mean, we see the hand that was raised. We'll get to you at the end. We'll just have you pop a question in the chat because I didn't realize how to toggle between talking on the screen and checking, but we'll get to you. Um,
So,
Go
when
ahead.
we connect physically, emotionally, and spiritually, our health improves in measurable ways. So, let me share a few things with everyone who's tuned in. Because when we say that pleasure is healing, I truly mean it. Physically, it has a way of boosting our immune system. We often don't catch as often colds. We are able to heal. We're able to boost our sleep. We're able to do a lot of healthy things with our bodies.
Definitely. And there's science behind it. Like
Oh, very
it
much
is.
so.
Yeah.
Our our cardiovascular system is a whole lot better for men and for women. I was having this conversation with a couple just yesterday, and I was sharing with them that for women who are regularly having intercourse, that it boosts their health to the point where 70% their mortality rate is decreased. And she turned to her spouse and said, "You are literally killing me." I said, we all bursted
Wow.
out laughing. But when you think about how important this is to us, and I'm not just talking about intercourse, but we can connect even non-sexually too.
Exactly. And we're going to talk about that. Not all touch has to be sexual, right?
No, not at all. So it also assists with our pain management. So when our intimacy is at a high level, we're able to not feel pain at the same rate or intensity.
100%. And I'll also add some more things like concentration goes up, happiness goes up, energy goes up. I don't know about you, but if you go for a drought, you feel different than if you are regularly, you know, taken care of, right?
Absolutely. So
Right?
emotionally, it helps with decreasing our depressive symptoms, our anxiety. We worry less. We're able to feel a sense of belonging. I'm not sure if you ever heard that being lonely is as detrimental to our health as smoking a pack of cigarettes.
100%. It's like a silent epidemic, this loneliness. And the strange thing about it, we are quote unquote more connected by technology than ever before, but people
Yes.
are struggling with loneliness.
So we already talked about the emotional. Let's talk about the cognitive. We're able to focus and concentrate better and just able to relax a whole lot more.
Exactly. Um, that's really important. So people who are regularly having healthy sexual relationships where there's wholeness, there's trust, etc., they think better. Like I was saying before, like you're more relaxed, you sleep better.
Exactly. If you're able to just be at a sense of calm and peace in your relationships, it also creates a sense of satisfaction because you're able to communicate better. You're able to forgive a whole lot quicker
Hmm.
because we all know that forgiveness helps to boost your immune system too and your overall health. So, relationally, it's also very good
100%.
to feel a sense of connection.
And because I know we have a quite a diverse audience, some that will be hearing the here on the live, but also the replay. Um, a lot of people have different backgrounds where it comes to discussion about intimacy, sex. For many people, it was taboo. No one really talked about it besides when you wanted to, get married, have a baby. Obviously, you have sex, but the whole piece was missing. Like it's not just this function of reproduction, it's so much more. Or, I often hear in my practice women are like, well, I'm menopausal. Like I jokingly say it's menopause, like menopause. Doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to pause. It shouldn't pause. By this time, if you have kids, they should be out often out their home. There's more time to yourself, less interruptions than if you have like a little toddler or something who tries to get in your room. But this is really important. Um, and to make this conversation natural, like talking about like we eat, we all admit we eat. No one's ashamed to admit, most people are not ashamed to admit they eat. We all breathe.
Mhm.
And this is important.
It definitely is. Even with relationships, when it comes to having intimacy, we're able to have more empathy and also be able to see each other's point of views. So it creates a whole overall feeling of closeness. It's truly a bonder. And spiritually, we have a sense of gratitude and connection, even for a power greater than ourselves.
Yes, and speaking of spiritually, I would often like to say, just like you said, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have like a specific God you worship. It's just that which is greater, right? Something bigger than ourselves, right? And that's really important. And this is actually one of the eight dimensions of wellness, spiritual wellness, right? Just like emotional wellness, physical wellness, environmental wellness. It's all important in taking a holistic approach to your health because I unless you take a holistic approach to your health when dealing with any challenges you may have, you'll probably find yourself keep on like falling in the same problems. Like a wheels. You have four wheels in your car. If you don't get your wheels aligned, what happens? I can tell you what happens because I've done this 3 times in my life. What happens is that one tire wears out more than the other. I end up in a ditch or a side of the road, and I have
Oh
done that.
no.
So alignment is really, really important, especially if you're busy, like many of us, going hard, going busy, like you're juggling many hats. It's really important to look at your health, your life, any challenges, opportunities you have in a very holistic lens. And spiritual wellness is important.
So, sexual wellness is where our body's need for touch, our mind's need for emotional connection, and our spirit's need for intimacy meet. So, it's all a holistic approach.
100%. And, I'm going to introduce a framework that some of you may be familiar with. This is one I created some time ago, and I call it the anatomy of alignment, the three-legged stool. And we can use this framework when talking about touch, talk, and trust and intimacy. Because at the end of the day, we are relational beings. We are created for relationship. You try to put somebody in solitary confinement in a prison, within a few hours, sometimes days, they literally lose it because we are not created to be alone. Even if you may feel like being alone sometimes, not 24/7. So, like I said, we are relational individuals. And I have this analogy with a three-legged stool. Imagine a stool has 3 legs, and each of those legs represent three critical relationships we all have. The number one is relationship with yourself. That's your beliefs, identities, your past experiences, all those things that make you who you are today, whether you recognize it or not. The second critical relationship is significant other. That could be your partner, spouse, close confidant, or your people, right? And then third, work and society. Any one of these legs is weak. What happens? The leg wobbles. It may not be able to take on too much weight because it's not stable. But if any one of these legs is broken, what happens? It falls. And that's how our life is. Like I originally created this framework to relate to burnout, but in reality, this relates to all our relationships. But ultimately, I feel like the most important one is the one with ourselves. And this is often the one that people don't want to deal with because it requires them to look in and it can be scary. It's a lot easy to project and say it's this person or it's that person. And it very well may be, but I feel like we all have a part to play. As I say, it takes two to tango.
So, I also have a framework. My framework is touch, talk, trust. And similar to Dr. Tomi, I believe intimacy is like a fire burning. And in order for it to burn bright, we need certain elements. We need touch, we need talk, and we need trust. If you take away one of them, that is going to dim, the fire is going to dim and it's going to die. And that's why, if you're having the touching and the talking and the trusting, which is the emotional and physical closeness in the relationship, that we're able to connect on a deeper level and feel more in love and also just more together.
Yeah, and this framework is so important because, like, imagine a relationship. Let's say your husband, spouse, whoever, right, your partner, and we talk about the three T's: the touch, talk, and trust. Imagine that relationship, especially the intimate side, where there's no trust. Imagine if you couldn't trust them, you didn't trust them, you didn't know what they
Oh,
were doing, you didn't know who they were talking to, were they being unfaithful? How would the intimacy be for you? I would think
what,
not good.
what
So why
kind of
would you?
what kind of intimacy can you have?
Exactly, exactly. Even truly, you can't even have true
Yeah.
intimacy. You can have
So it
sex, but no, you can have.
would be great
It
sex
would be
because
great. It would suck.
you wouldn't feel a sense of safety with that person,
Exactly,
both
exactly,
emotionally or even physically.
exactly. Or even touch, besides the obvious touch. Like, how would
Yes.
you feel? Like, these are just, it's a really good framework.
So when you think of intimacy, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? For most people, it is sex. As a sex therapist, we try to help people deviate between sex. So when we say sex, we think it's everything that's encompassing. So we always try to help people say sexual intercourse, or if they're saying something else, so we know exactly what they're talking about. So for most people, they're thinking sexual intercourse. But I want people to be able to have a broader definition of intimacy than sexual intercourse because it's a bit deeper than that.
Exactly. And the fact is, not everybody is able to have penetrative sex, right?
No.
And that's why definitions need to reflect that, right? It's more than just penetration. I think that's really important because I know in my practice, I have patients who, let's say, have medical conditions that's prevented them from doing what they used to do, but they can
Mhm.
still be intimate. They can still have sexual wellness.
And that's it. We can still be intimate and close with our
Yes.
partners every day without having penetration. I think there's so much focus on a physical act to the point that sometimes people are feeling even lonely, are not feeling as close as they should feel because the other aspects are not being paid attention to. So intimacy is not monolithic. It's multifaceted and is shaped by our stories, our needs, and the many ways that we connect emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, intellectually, and even through conflict. You know, when I say with conflict too, I think I usually raise a few eyebrows because I'm also a specialist, certified specialist in anger management. And I help my couples understand that anger can actually help their relationship. And they're like, what? I said, if we harness it, if we control it, if we manage it well, because conflict is not something that we should shy away from. Conflict can actually be the opportunity to get your needs met. Typically, when we are in conflict, we're able to talk truthfully and transparently so we can share what it is that's on our mind and what it is that we need to go forward. So your partner knows what it is that is coming up for you. So there's no guessing, there's no need to sugarcoat anything. You, of course, I would expect you to be respectful, but also with the touch, talk, trust, we're also able to repair those conflicts quickly so you can move on and have a healthier, happier relationship. Because the death of our relationship is when we actually stay silent. Silence,
Yes.
resentment is the true killer of relationships.
Yes. Like
Don't think
apathy.
that you're saving the peace
Yeah.
by keeping it to yourself because it's coming out in different ways. And what is really happening is emotional and physical distance.
Yes. You know, as you were speaking, Karim, one thing that came to mind is that if in your relationship you feel unsafe to disagree, you feel unsafe if there's conflict, that will impact your wellness, the intimacy, right?
Absolutely.
Right? It's like there needs to be, you need to be able to express positive and quote unquote negative emotions, right? That is
Absolutely.
important.
So I think it was Dr. Barry McCarthy that says the two F's are the most important when it comes to sexual desire: freedom and flexibility. And that goes for a lot of things. When it comes to relationship, you should have the freedom to say, I respectfully disagree.
Yes. Exactly. That is so important. And maybe some people may be thinking, well, I didn't grow up that way. You were raised in a home where you couldn't disagree or it was frowned upon. That same mindset can also continue in your relationships. That's probably an area of, I think, growth. We're talking to somebody, whether it's a therapist, somebody to work through these things, because it's really important. Because honestly, when you get to the point where you're in a relationship where truly you feel listened to, heard, connected, where there's safety, you're affirmed, like it's the most beautiful thing. And
And
that's my
that,
goal for everyone.
and that is what intimacy is, truly.
Yes,
So my mission is for us to redefine what intimacy is, not just sexual intercourse, but true intimacy is about closeness, both physical and emotional. The one that we experience when we nurture, we listen, respond, and show up, allowing ourselves and our partners to truly be seen, to be heard, and understood.
exactly.
So, the reason why I wrote my book, Touch Talk Trust, is because I realized that a lot of my couples and even individuals, when they sought out therapy, sex therapy actually, the sexual dysfunctions that they were experiencing when we peel back the layers, it wasn't necessarily a performance issue. It was an intimacy deficiency and problem. Somehow, along in their relationship, they stopped touching, they stopped talking, or they even had trust issues. So within time, they stopped connecting. And with those elements, when one goes down like the stool, everything crumbles.
100%. And from my perspective as a physician, by the time they come to me with this concern, they're thinking it's something else. They're calling it menopause, they're calling it tired, they're calling it many things. But like you said, peeling back like the layers of an onion, going to the root issues, it's a relationship issue. It's a, like you said, touch, talk, and trust. And we're gonna keep on repeating it. So when you leave here, you'll be like, touch, talk, and trust. It's so important. Yes. If you haven't already done so, please get your book. It's a great workbook, easy to read, big print. So if you're over 40 and your eyes are starting to change, apparently all people over 40 eyes start to change. But anyway,
And
it's a really,
it also has beautiful pictures too,
yes, yes.
and reflective questions, couple discussions, and activities to do with your partner. And if you're single, it's also a great tool for you to have reflective questions for you to also understand ways in which that you can improve because we're always looking for areas of improvement.
100%. That's a really good point, even for singles. Like you want to be able to show up as the best version of yourself in all your relationships, but especially your intimate one, right? In the future, right? So being aware of these things, working through any mental roadblocks you may have.
So, Touch Talk Trust is a framework that is simple, but a powerful guide to help us to love and to connect with intention, with tenderness, and with confidence. Because I always say that it's important for us to touch with care, talk with intention, and to trust with confidence.
Yes. And like as you said at the beginning, this is important for your cognition, this is important for your immune system, this is important for your body. Like it's like, your body's own design medicine. Medicine for your body. It's healing.
Absolutely.
It's this benefit. It's not just a
For your
transaction.
for your
Yeah,
mind, for your body, for your spirit.
everything, everything. It impacts all
Absolutely.
aspects of your life. And then I'd like to introduce another framework. It's the three E's. And it shares similarities even with Karimah, what she said about peeling back the layers of the onion. I'll go into detail later, but embrace is like recognizing that whatever challenges, first you got to embrace the fact. Okay, so many of us are so busy running. We're running and running and running and from our problems, what we perceive as our problems, running away from your past, running away from memories. But the fact is, those memories, though you can't change the past. And you have to recognize that these experiences helped shape the person you are today, right? But we also have a choice to do something about it. We're not defined by an experience or an upbringing, right? We don't have to be. It's a choice we have as adults. Evaluate whenever you're dealing with a problem or challenge in life. Just like Karima said, you peel back like the layers of an onion, you peel them back. You go, keep on asking why. Why am I this way? Why do I do this? Why? Oh, you have an answer. Why? I find more often than not the why beneath the why beneath the why is a relational challenge. Whether it's desire for connection, loneliness, something to be appreciated. Because at the end of the day, we are relational humans. And most of our challenges, whether in mental health, whether in anxiety, depression, even ADHD, etc., are due to challenges in our relationships, specifically our three critical relationships: self, significant other, and working society. And I must add, there's a fourth relationship I didn't add to the framework, but the fourth is kind of like, it is like, imagine the struts that hold the three legs together. And that's our faith, right? That's that belief in that which is greater. Because it's quite amazing how individuals who are going through, their world is falling apart, they're losing their job, they're living in a crazy country, their relationship is just like destroyed, they're going through a divorce, separation, whatever, and then they have their own challenges. They're somehow able to get up every day and push because they still have those struts holding them together. Now, I'm not suggesting that you just live by struts and it's just faith that pushes you through. No, you need tangible physical relationships around you to support you, but that's just the framework expanded. And then finally, energize. That is where we take empowered action, where you have community to help support you. You have accountability. Whether and one accountability partner I appreciate is somebody who is licensed and bound to confidentiality. Not necessarily your best friend, because if they're not your best friend next week, they'll be spilling your business. Like that happens. Not just young people, older people too. Ideally, a licensed professional, right? Who obviously you connect with, who you can share these challenges you have, and preferably not airing all your family business with your family. That's the thing. That's for another conversation. But like in relationships, be careful what you air with your family. It's not always going to be helpful in the long term. It may be soothing initially, but it might not be that great down the road. So really, at the end of this hour plus together, we hope that you have a map, a framework, where you can see what is missing as far as alignment and what are some small practical steps you can take starting now to bring it back.
So many of us were raised in cultures or homes where conversations about intimacy were avoided or reduced to a physical act alone. But my story is a little bit different from others. I guess you could pick up on my accent. I am Caribbean. My mother had a different belief. Being an educator and also seeing how some people growing up were disadvantaged or abused, she wanted better for her children. She believed that it was better for her to inform us about sex and intimacy so that we would have information and not be misinformed by peers or even predators. So she approached the topic from a pleasure positive message. Although we are Christians, I know oftentimes people hear a bit about having a fear base. You better not get pregnant or you're going to die of an STD. Her approach was a bit different. She said, sex feels great. It is wonderful. It's a God given gift. It's something to be celebrated and not ashamed about. But she also said it's important to protect ourselves, not just physically, but emotionally. And it's important for us to honor our bodies because it's for the right person, for the right time, and for the right reasons, preferably within marriage. So I really respect the way how she did it. And I realize as I'm talking with clients, I'm talking with people in the community, I realize that this is a different approach. But in this generation, we have so easy access to, unfortunately, to porn and to all these different things. I think it's important for parents to change the way that they have grown up to help their children by having that message. Not have one conversation, but continue having the conversations. Be able to break it down from a young age, from letting them understand what body parts they have. Don't call it the cutesy names. Call it the right body parts so they know that they're not supposed to allow people to touch them inappropriately. And if something happens, that they feel safe to come and share that with you. And as they grow up, have those age appropriate conversations. So some people say the parents told them, have one conversation, have the conversations. So make sure that you're having that relationship with them that they feel comfortable sharing. So it's a bit different, but I just want to encourage this generation to do things a bit differently.
Definitely, definitely agree. In my medical practice, again, it's quite diverse, but we have these conversations because I'm the doctor that there's nothing that will make me blush. Haha. I talk about anything. I'll bring up topics and they embrace it. But you know, I remember there was this one couple newly married and they didn't know anything about like sex. Like they were
Mhm.
clueless. They were asking me for help, advice. And I
Wow.
was just like, oh, like obviously I had the conversation with, I was honored to, help them, but it's unfortunate that they didn't have that growing up, right? Because they weren't kids. They were like their mid-20s, right? But this is what happens in many parts of the world, in many homes. People don't talk about it. And I must say, Kermit, your mom is pretty amazing because she was ahead of her time, right?
Very much so. You could
Right.
imagine early 90s, my
Yeah.
mother comes home and she pulls out the condom with the banana
Wow.
and showing my brother and I. I'm 11 years old and I'm all into it. And my brother, it was just recently when we talked about it and I laughed about it. He said, I was horrified. I would have preferred if dad had that conversation with me. I did not enjoy that. I didn't appreciate it. And I was just like, wow, I
Yeah.
had no clue all this time how he felt. We're in our 40s.
Yeah.
And he was like, whoa, I was really taken aback by mom's open approach. But yet we had the information.
It's important. A lot of parents think, oh, if we talk about it, the kids will then start having sex early. What do you think about that?
I think you'll be able to have the information because it's not taboo. They're able to talk about it. They're able to make informed decisions instead of hiding or not feeling comfortable because the whole point is realizing it's not just a physical thing, it's an emotional thing.
100%. I agree.
So I totally disagree. I think the more information we have is the more young people can say, wait, I don't think I'm ready for that.
100%. And not confusing the physical act of sex with intimacy or sex equals somebody loves you. Like that's often twisted and manipulated. People be like,
Very
oh,
much.
don't you love me? Don't you, you know what I mean? Don't you trust me? Yeah. No,
Exactly.
no, no, no.
Information helps to prepare them and protect
Yes.
them.
A
That's the whole
hundred
point.
percent. Yeah, no, that's amazing. I know for me growing up, the only conversations my parents ever had about sex was don't fornicate. That's all they said. And I'll leave it as that. There was no
So
conversation
no
whatsoever.
conversation. That was it. Just don't
None.
hesitate.
Oh, when I went to university, my first day, my mom dropped me off. She said, Tomi, no boys. That was the closest thing she ever said. So don't fornicate, and then Tomi, no boys. That was it. So that was my family upbringing. But here we are having a conversation about sex and
I
oh,
guess my mom was really different. She always encouraged me to have male friends. So
oh,
I had a slew of male friends. And then later on, I realized maybe they like me. Maybe there are other interests. I just thought I was cool, not realizing that maybe they're attracted to me. I think it was someone who said, you think that all these male friends you have just think that you're cool? I think they're waiting for their opportunity to be your boyfriend.
yeah, exactly. Men are hunters, don't you know?
I think I was so innocent. I had no clue. But it also let me know how men work and how men think. And I think my brother, being a little older, he was also very supportive and also very protective too. So he also had his own commentary in my ear. Boy, this is how boys think, and this is how you're supposed to be conducting yourself as a young lady. So there were a lot of different messages early on that helped shape who I am today.
Exactly. And that also helps shape your mission, right?
Definitely does. So it's about realizing that intimacy is not just about a physical act, but what we do behind doors. It's about the vulnerability, it's about the care, it's about also checking in, it's about curiosity, and it's about how we touch, how we talk, and how we trust. So
Exactly.
the truth is, most relationship problems and many health problems stem from a misalignment in one or more of these areas.
100%.
So sexual wellness is about healing and is the currency of our life. We're not meant to live life alone.
Often when we talk about wellness, we often separate things. We think physical here in a box, mental health over here, and relationships somewhere in between. And to think about it, not that long ago, we only really talked about physical health. Mental health was a taboo. Like you didn't dare say that you were depressed or you had thoughts of hurting yourself because you were afraid that, someone would put you away, lock you up. Like, and that was a real reality because guess what? Doctors used to lock people up back in the day. It was quite horrific. The truth is, your well-being is part of this ecosystem. Like we look at it in a holistic lens. And sexual wellness sits at the crossroads of biology, psychology, and social connection. And it's influenced by so many factors, hormones like premenopause, perimenopause, puberty. Even men, they have their testosterone decline. And for some men, it starts much sooner than we think. Sleep is huge. Your nutrition, like your pain, it impacts your like pain, mood, stress, and sense of overall belonging. So we can't separate it from wellness. It's intertwined. It's like the Venn diagram with all the circles, physical,
Yeah.
emotional, spiritual, all the health. Sexual wellness is connected. And wellness is sustained by consistency through small acts of connection every day, right? I know, Kareem, you talk a lot about love languages. Even in my own coaching and medical practice, I have couples in and we talk about that. I'll have them do like quizzes about love languages and expressing love in a way your partner recognizes. This is so important. And it doesn't always
So
have to, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So Dr. Gottman actually believes that we reach out, we have connection bids with our partners maybe a dozen times a day, but it depends on how we react to it. When we reach for a hug or a kiss, or we
Mhm.
try to connect and want to show our partner something on our phone, how we respond really says a lot. It
One-
tells the partner whether we're interested, if we want to feel encouraged to do it again, or to maybe keep to ourselves. So it's important to know that we're reaching out in an approachable, loving way, that we're turning towards our partner and truly connecting with those small acts.
100%. And being aware, unplugging from our phones in this tech world, so many people, like you'll see couples out for dinner and they'll both be on their phones, not just checking for the movie, what they're doing afterwards. No, they're literally on their phones. That's an opportunity to connect, right?
Yeah.
So be aware.
So our intimacy and wellness plays a big part because our emotional intimacy helps us to feel good because it releases serotonin and dopamine, those feel good chemicals and hormones. It elevates our mood and eases our anxiety. It reduces our stress. Also, it helps us to reduce our depressive symptoms. It's hard to have an active sex life and feel well and not um feel good. You feel as if you're on top of the world. And healthy relationships nurture a self-esteem. You feel good about yourself. You're able to bounce back when things happen. So there's a sense of resilience because we don't live in a perfect world, but we
No.
realize that we have a whole lot more self-compassion and realize that things do happen, but it's okay. And that you know that you're not alone. There's a sense of belonging and it protects us from loneliness. Remember, we said loneliness is dangerous.
Mhm.
Just 5 years ago, we were going through a worldwide pandemic, and touch was something that we could not do. We had to be 6 feet apart, or some of us were further apart from our loved ones. And this was truly an issue.
Definitely. I remember during, kind of I digress, but I remember during the pandemic, that was the first time I heard of something called glory holes. Now you might be thinking, Dr. Mitchell, what are you talking about? But the point is, it's it's like touch is important, right? Wholesome touch. And the pandemic was one global petri dish experiment of seeing how internal and external stressors impact relationships, impact how schedule changes impacts how we function. Like I feel like we're still reeling from the impacts of that pandemic, but yeah, that time was quite something else. But intimacy is important, okay? Touch is important. Um, we talk about, sexless relationships, right, Karima? I think they define
Yeah.
it as less than one intimate connection per month.
Yes.
Yeah, like you might be thinking, that seems like a lot. No, it's not. Especially if everything's still working and flowing, like it's important, okay? I remember we
It's
said,
very,
what'd you say?
I say it's very important, but if we're having issues with trust, it's
It's not
hard.
gonna happen. Exactly. So again,
Mhm.
if the foundation is not there, one of the questions we asked at the beginning is, what is one thing that you can do starting now or when you leave this Zoom recording to help improve things, right? It's not about where you are right now. You may be like, oh man, this is really bad. Like, this is terrible. What are the next steps? And having a strategy and plan in place to move forward. right? Again, we talked about the anatomy of alignment, the three-legged stool. Again, the leg one is relationship with yourself. What are you going to do with yourself? Um, Honestly, I often say if you have a heart and mind, you're going to have mental health challenges at some point in your life. Like every single person I have, I'm not afraid to admit it. I've had mental health challenges. Everyone has. If anyone doesn't say so, I'm just like, whatever. It's like everyone poops and pees, everyone breathes, everyone has this,
Yeah.
right? Self-respect is important, self-compassion is important. A lot of people are so hard on themselves.
Mhm.
Also, body literacy. So many people lack basic fundamental knowledge about their body and its function. And I've seen that in this like 2025, in the 2020s, right? And it is okay to experience pleasure and rest. You are not a cog wheel. You're not a mouse going through, in the wheel, pushing, pushing, pushing. You deserve rest. You deserve pleasure. You need pleasure and intimacy. They go together. So that's the first relationship. Second, significant other, really reconnecting with them, getting to know them, having a good attachment, sharing rituals and, things that you do together, making sure when you have a disagreement, and it's okay to disagree, it's actually healthy to disagree. It's healthy that you quickly repair. You're not going to bed angry and, letting things fester, right? So, as,
The repair is that
right?
so that is really the test of the relationship, how strong a relationship is. How long are we gonna, be at odds? But if we are able to repair and pick up and grow from this conflict, that
Yeah.
is the strength of a relationship. Is looking for us to run towards each other, not running away.
Yes, because if you're both running away, what good is that, right? You want to stick together like glue. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this together. We're gonna work on it together. Like we're bonded. We are doing this. That is the most beautiful thing when you have a
Yes, a
relationship.
level of commitment.
Yes. Not like, well, if you don't like it, I'm just gonna leave. Like that's not healthy. That's not going
No,
to produce good
that
outcome.
that doesn't breed a lot of security.
Yeah, the trust will be gone, right? Because you're like, oh, we disagree, they're gone. So that's something that we have to look at, right? If any of these scenarios remind you of your own relationships, definitely that's an area that you could use some growth, some help. And then the third leg is work. We live in this world. You have a workplace, and then the workplace is governed by the societal influences. And this impacts us. Like if you listen to the news or whether you scroll social media, it's not even every day. It's like every 30 minutes. There's some newsreel or something, right? But this is important. It does impact you. Psychological safety, right? Autonomy, purpose, respectful norms. It's really hard to thrive if your workplace or the world that you live in violates your boundaries or values. And I get it. There are many people who live in extremely challenging places of the world, or just even homes or places that are, make this really hard. But ideally, if you want to thrive, you need all three legs strong, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. You can't sugarcoat it. It's just the truth, right? It is just the truth, unfortunately. And like I said, when one leg weakens, most of us try to compensate. We do, right? We add cushions, whether it's distractions, we overwork, we self-soothe, we keep busy, we eat, whatever it is. But it's not more padding we need, okay? It's structural alignment. It's looking at those critical relationships, self, significant other, work in society, and then also looking at touch, talk, and trust in those relationships.
I'm looking at our time, so we're going to go through this a bit quickly because I want us to hit a few points. So, when we start with the touch, touch is the silent language of love. It communicates care, comfort, and connection. Without touch, it lowers, with touch, sorry, the health benefits. It lowers our stress, our heart rate, our blood pressure. It actually calms and regulates our nervous system. It boosts our immune system and it reduces the risk of illness and promotes better sleep. I believe that we all have a touch language. Just like a love language, it's something very similar, something that I created inspired from Dr. Gary Chapman's love language and Dr. Barry McCarthy's five dimensions of touch frameworks. I kind of combined the two and realized that we can have our own touch languages and it's influenced by our desires, by our experiences. And it's a great way for us to to communicate with our partners and even with ourselves the ways in which we enjoy and like to receive touch. So I'd like to share with you a bit quickly some of them. So we do have affectionate touch, and that communicates warmth and safety. This is just someone who likes to cuddle and hug. Then we have the passionate touch that thrives off of intensity and fire. And it usually is very intentional about your desire to maybe get things a little spicier. So that's your passionate touch. There's playful touch, someone who likes to be adventurous and fun. They like to flirt and laugh. Then there's sensual touch. They like to slow things down. They like to savor the moment and use their senses to connect. And then there is the affirming touch. The affirming touch is very grounding, it's sacred, it's healing. It's that pat on the back to remind you that I am here for you. So, Dr. Tomi, I'm going to be quick. Which one of these touches you think are the most impactful?
I would say my life and people I know affirming touch because it's no strings attached. It's
That's exactly true. It's affirming. Sometimes when I ask this question, sometimes people think it's affectionate, but affectionate still has those ties that I'm still cuddling up. I love you. I want to be with you. But affirming is just signals that you're safe with me, that you are loved. That is affirming. But when we do not have touch or safe touch, it's harmful. We're not able to sleep. There are times when, if I can't sleep, I ask my husband, baby, just hold me. And I'm able to fall asleep so quickly afterwards. So without that safe touch, it's as harmful as bad sleep and unhealthy food. It triggers emotional withdrawal, insecurity, and physical distress. Our bodies crave that regulation. It's important for us to have so many hugs a day. Doctor told me, how many hugs did you receive today?
oh, great question. One, two, three, maybe eight today.
Oh, that's great.
I'm a hugger. Anyone who's my patient knows that I'm like Mama Bear. I'm like, oh, come to mom. Like, especially my lady patients. Yeah. And my kids are very huggy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when I thought that question, people ask, are you only supposed to hug your spouse or your partner? No, you could hug. I don't say walking around hugging strangers.
Yeah.
You hug people that you trust.
hmm
You're
Yeah.
supposed to be reaching out.
100%. And
If
speaking of
you're,
regulation, like with young kids, like my kids will be running around screaming at night, and then they'll come into my room. Suddenly they sleep. It's like that hug, that being in the den, the
yeah.
cubs. That's really important for a baby. Like when, a parent caregiver holds the child, they calm. And this is primal. This is
And we
so
still need it as adults too. That's
100%.
that's a great analogy. Ooh,
Yeah.
yes. Because they say that we need at least 4 hugs a day just for survival. So
Oh,
if
I
anybody's
agree.
thinking that, oh, I only had one or none, reach out. Reach out in love. So
We should.
talk is very important.
Yes.
It's important for us to speak with the heart because our words can build bridges or it can also create barriers. So it can heal or it can hurt. It's our choice. So the important thing is to know a few things about our communication. It's important for us when we're talking to be transparent.
Keep it
Our
real. Keeping it real
transparency,
with love. I'd like to say, keep it real.
yes,
Truth with love goes a long way. Very
it
important.
does. It does. It lowers our blood pressure and increases our overall functioning.
Yes.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the framework talk. So the first one is T. T is for transparency. It talks about speaking truthfully and clearly about your needs, your feelings, and your intentions. And that includes our body language. Because
Yes.
oftentimes when we speak, our bodies speak even louder than our words. We
Oh,
communicate
yes.
more with our body than even with the words that come out of our mouth. So it's important for our words and our bodies to communicate the same thing. It
And even
helps
if
to
you're not saying anything, you're still speaking, right? Like even if you
still
think you're not saying anything,
speaking.
if you're like,
I'm fine.
you're dramatic.
Come on. Be honest.
Hmm,
Speak the truth. It
yeah,
creates safety and it builds trust.
exactly.
A is for awareness. Be aware. Be mindful of your tone, your timing, and your triggers. If you know that this is not a good time to have that conversation, why don't you make an appointment? I
Hmm.
often hear my couples talk about, hey, I was trying to talk. And I said, did you ask, is this a good time?
Hmm.
And they're like, oh, no. When it comes to imago relationship therapy, that's like the first thing they ask you. Is this a good time for us to talk? And if your partner says, no, give me 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, they're supposed to be able to give you their full attention. But I also hear too is what if you have a partner who's avoidant? So there's never a good time to
Yeah.
talk. So that's a different problem right there. That's something about having that communication is triggering. So it's important for us to try to create that safe space for them to understand that you're just there for both of you to connect. And in order to do that, listening is very important.
Yes.
Oftentimes, we listen to just share our piece, get our lick back, but it's important for us to also to listen to understand. Not
Yeah.
listen to expand, but listen to understand so we could actually understand what our partner needs from us.
100%. That's why we have two of these and one of these.
And just like you said, Dr. Tomi, speak with kindness.
Mhm.
Even if we are not agreeing, we can still fight fairly and nicely. So
Yeah.
use your words to to speak with compassion and curiosity so that we can truly be able to connect.
Yes, you can agree to disagree, and that is okay.
Totally okay. So talk builds these three bridges. It builds safety, trust, and intimacy. When we touch, our bodies feels a sense of safety, and when we talk, we feel the emotional safety, and that happens when we start to stabilize with our trust. Trust is the heart of connection.
The key to everything. It's key to the magic. It's the key to good sex. It's key to sense of belonging. It's everything.
Absolutely. Trust is a way in which we have emotional safety, consistency, and reliability in our relationships. When we have trust, we're able to have healthy communication because we're able to understand that our partner wants to understand us. So we're able to speak our truth and know that they're still going to be here.
Yes.
We're able to have great sex because we're able to truly let go and
Yes.
connect. It's hard to do that if you're not sure if you like the person or if you trust the person. And you're also able to bounce back that resilience after a conflict, knowing that that person still wants to be with you. But
Yes.
remember a few things, that trust is mutual. Trust is not just about letting go, but it's also about how we act when we are being trusted.
And that's important. That's a privilege. That really is. And we shouldn't abuse that privilege. We should, that's
Wow.
just another conversation we could have. But that, yeah,
And that goes
right.
in and outside of the bedroom. That goes for
Yes.
everything.
Everything. That is so important.
Every kind gesture, every empathetic response, every follow through, it creates a deposit in the bank. But every broken promise, every harsh word, every ignored boundary is a withdrawal. And over time, trust can grow rich or abundant, or it could become depleted and fragile. The choice is ours. So, what I encourage everyone is that when we're rebuilding trust, because when we experience broken trust, it's like trauma to our bodies. Don't take leaps of faith, take steps. It starts with creating boundaries so we could feel more safe. T, it takes time, so be patient. Track what's happening, see there's some sense of consistency. E, is about evidence of growth. See if there's a change behavior. P is for us to take a pause, for us to kind of reflect with our partner and see how we're doing with the rebuilding process. And S is to establish a support system. Just like Dr. Tommy said, you don't want to bring everybody into what's going on with you, but the people that you can trust. You can have maybe a ministry that you can gain some information from, that you could get a sense of support from, maybe marriage retreats, book clubs, you can have maybe one or two family members or professionals, a therapist, a coach, someone who you know that after you guys are reconnected, that they are not going to have such a vested interest that they're not able to let go. Oftentimes, when you invite family and friends into your relationship, they're not as forgiving as you are. So it's important to know what to say and what not to say. You have to protect your relationship.
Very true.
So trust is essential across all those legs of the stool, the self, the partner, and also the work society. So are you honoring your boundaries and your needs? Are you following through on your commitment to yourself? Can you rely on each other in meaningful ways? From daily routines to big life decisions? Do you experience consistency, reliability, and fairness in your professional and society social interactions?
So when you feel safe at home, guess what? Your work performance improves. When your workplace is psychological safe, you bring more energy back into your relationship. So it's all connected. We don't live in bubbles or silos. Alignment in one area spills into the others, right? It's the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. It's connected. We want to really integrate this. So when we have touch, when there's body safety, when there's talk, emotional safety are present, trust develops naturally, but it takes time. Trust is the seat of our stool, and when it stabilizes, everything else falls into place. Okay, trust is non-negotiable, right?
Mhm.
And when it's broken, there is a repair process, but and it takes time.
Yes, you have to be patient
Yes,
and
100%.
commit. So for the touch, talk, trust, trust is the foundation. It's the base of it all. Without it, we can't truly be able to reap the benefits of the physical and the emotional intimacy. I think Brene Brown said it best. She said, trust is the foundation upon which intimacy is built. Without trust, there is no safety. And without safety, connection cannot thrive.
All right, and we're going to go over the 3E framework for change, impact, and integration. I mentioned this earlier with the three um, Ease, embrace, evaluate, and energize. So embracing, it's like understanding the root cause, not just the wound, right? Acknowledging your full story, not just the polished parts you tell the world, but the messy middle. And it's tracing patterns that started years ago, beliefs about worthiness, success, love, or safety, and how that shows up in your current relationships and your career. Second, evaluate, diagnosing the root problem. As a physician, I don't just say, oh, you're tired. Patient comes and saying they're tired. And I don't just say, oh, you need more sleep. That's not my answer. It's like, what's happening in the sleep? Is your partner snoring? Are you snoring? How's your energy? What's your nutrition like? It's going down the layers, right? So analyzing, like the peeling the layers of the onions. And that's important, even if it makes you uncomfortable. And even if you cry, it can be healing. And then finally, taking empowered action, the energize. This is where many people get stuck or do it wrong. Having that support systems in place is important. Having a sex therapist and other providers to help you along your life journey. And there needs to be a plan. There needs to be a strategy. It doesn't happen by accident. A healthy relationship is not by accident. It's not because you fell in love and love is easy. No, that's a bunch of baloney. Okay. Love is work. Love is intentional. Yes, there are times it can feel easy, especially in the honeymoon phase. But it's work, it's a desire. Even when things don't feel right, you're stuck like glue. You're going to pull through this together. And it takes two to tango. So we want you to kind of reflect on what we talked about tonight. And we invite you. So, which of those E's do you need most help with now? Where do you want to start? What about the T's? Touch, talk, or trust? Or which ones are lacking? Which one needs to be strengthened? It's all important, right? When partners learn to embrace and evaluate their patterns and energize their actions through small, deliberate rituals, they stop firefighting and start gardening. You start planting seeds of trust, which tend to soil their relationships, right? And over time, these seeds, these gardens grow, and you become more resilient, capable of weathering conflict, change, and even chaos.
So remember, rituals create rhythms. I actually encourage my couples to create connection rituals
Mm.
because it creates safety. And safety in return invites intimacy, the kind of connection that lasts. I like to read a little something from my workbook, Touch, Talk, Trust. This is a closing thought from Pleasure is Healing. Pleasure is not a distraction from healing, it is a part of the healing. It reminds us that life can be good again, that love can feel warm again, that bodies can feel safe again. And together, joy is not only possible, but is also necessary for deep connection.
Not taking action is going to cost you maybe thinking, okay, that's nice, Karimah, that's nice, Dr. Tomi. You don't know my life, don't know my situation. We may not know your life situation, but there's a cost. There's an opportunity cost of not taking action. And it's there, you know. One that's near and dear to my heart and many others is in the family, right? So if you and your partner are not on the best speaking terms, there's no trust foundation, it's going to affect how you parent your little people, right? You know, chronic conflict or emotional withdrawal between parents can impact your children's stress regulation. I've seen it, kids who look like they have ADHD because they're all like boo 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 boo. But really, when you peel back the layers of the onions, is the parents that have significant challenges, right? Whether they're together or not. It's just
Oh yeah,
that's how it's manifesting in the child's life. And we love our families. It's natural to love our children,
that.
right? So this is important. This your kids are watching, regardless of your situation with their, you know, the parent, the other parent. So kids sleeping well, kids forming new good friends, having good relationships. This is important because our kids' future depends on it. Remember how I talked about embrace, looking at the past, present, and future? Well, guess what? Your choices, our choices are impacting our kids or future kids. So hopefully bring them into a healthy, safe, loving environment. That's the best. Because this is another point. Kids often end up being with somebody who's very similar to one of their parents, and it can be good, bad, or very ugly. And oftentimes, so make sure you are a solid example, or at least you start the repair process wherever you are in your stages of your relationships. So, are you ready to reclaim your wellness? And do you have any questions?
I was just about to talk a little bit about the childhood wounds that we
Mm.
have, that we
Yeah.
often, according to the Imago relationship therapy, we subconsciously find someone to heal those childhood wounds and the mate that we choose. So that is such a great point, Dr. Tomi.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay, we had a question. I think another part of this conversation is that women need to have difficult conversations about the vulnerability, curiosity, exploration, pleasure, and respect regarding internet connection. My son is already 13, and we are having these discussions. I am really loving this discussion. Well, first, that's amazing. That's kind of like your mom who at 11 whipped out a condom
Thank
and
you,
here
Ebony.
you
That's
go.
awesome. Woohoo!
I don't think I saw a condom until I saw a condom, you know? So that was not my mother. So, yeah, this is great. It's so important for our sons and daughters to be open and vulnerable and feel safe, you know? I think it's really, I'm going to talk about boys because statistically, boys and girls get the same amount of hugs for the first, I think it's like 2 years of life. And then after a certain point, correct me if I'm the exact age, it drops off like significantly for boys. They're told,
Mhm.
don't cry, be a boy, you're a boy, don't be a girl, don't be a wuss, you know what I mean? Like we do something, we do boys dirty, okay? And then
Yeah,
they grow up being emotionally constipated. Go figure. But girls too. You know, we need to be able to nurture them so they can be open. And as parents, we should be the first place where they learn these things, where it's modeled, right?
very much so. And I even help wives because they're like, oh, why is it that men sexual, their love language is always physical touch and sex? I said, Dr. told me what you said was dead on because majority of them, the only person who they feel they could reach out and have physical touch that we all need is with their spouse or their
Yeah.
partner. So
Yeah.
of course, that's going to be their love language because that's their need. That's a deficiency in their life.
Yeah,
They
that's
don't
so
get a chance
true.
to reach out. And if that wife is not very affectionate, and she feels as if, oh, he only reaches out because he wants sex, and sometimes all he wants is a hug.
Yes, that is so true. And often our primary love language is the love language we didn't receive much growing up. I know for mine, mine is the last time I did this test, I was like, I think about 2 weeks ago I did the quiz again because it can change over time. But mine was
Yes.
acts of service. And
Mhm.
literally, I'm like Mama Octopus. I have like 8 arms and I'm everywhere doing everything. And I've had to be so self-sufficient because I guess I had to grow up really quick, right?
Mhm.
It's not
Mhm.
ideal, but it makes sense why that is so important to me.
So our love language actually changes like every 90 days.
Yeah.
So I often encourage people to take it again.
Yes.
Take it again and see if your needs have changed because based on what it is that you need at that moment, that is what your love language is.
That
I
is so
think
true. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
is.
that's so true. And it's, like speaking of sex, just because you liked Missionary 2 years ago and it's now whatever year, things change. Maybe you gotta switch it up. Maybe the partners switch it up. Just like our love languages change every 90 days. You should
Try something new.
find something new.
Uh,
Like,
the
right?
reality is a lot of women's sexual desire declines in long-term relationships because who wants who desires bad sex
Right?
or predictable sex or
Mhm.
sex that is just not desirable. So I encourage, couples to try something new, spice things up, keep it interesting. There's nothing wrong with learning new techniques, you know, trying something new that both people actually enjoy. But that's the caveat. Both people need to enjoy it.
Yes, exactly. Have those conversations, right? And be open about it. Sex is a beautiful thing. It's like air, like water, like food. But when you have trust, when there's healthy boundaries, where there's safety, it can really be an amazing thing. And it's good for your health, man. It's
It
so
is.
good. You know, the oxytocin, the rush, the dopamine, like feeling good.
There's nothing wrong with a little curiosity and seeing whatever else that you like to do to spice things
Yeah.
up a little.
Bring some play, bring some something, bring some flavor, some spices up and like spice it up a little bit,
Yes.
you know? So that's really, really important. And if you're thinking, oh my goodness, there's so many places that you need to work on, that's okay. At least you're aware and now take the steps, right? And
Yeah.
speaking of steps, let me just jump back here because I want to show you what potential next steps you can take.
So I am not only an ASEX certified sex therapist, I'm also an approved CE provider. So I have a few online programs and trainings that I am working on currently, and they are approved for certification if you are trying to be certified with ASEC or just for continuing education. And some of them, these are the titles: Intimacy Reimagined with Touch, Talk, and Trust, Behind the Armor, Addressing Male Sexual Shame in Couples Therapy, Golden Love, Navigating Intimacy Through Aging, Illness, and Evolving Desires, and Ethical Mastery in Couples Therapy, Navigating Sexual Exploration for Clinicians. So, some things I want to make sure that my trainings are not just for therapists, but also for people who are interested in improving their relationships.
Very important for everyone.
Everyone,
Everybody. And you get a course.
interesting and still practical. So you'll be
Yes.
able to learn and be like, aha, this is different. Ooh. So that's the whole point.
And also, it's important to apply the 3E framework, embrace, evaluate, energizing. I'm a physician, I'm also a coach. So, definitely, if that's something that you're interested in, you can definitely reach out and really build that connection. Remember, we are relationship oriented individuals. We thrive on relationships with self, most important one, because that's the filter, the lens we see everything. And then, secondly, our significant other, our partners, our people, right? And then work in society. We have to have really good boundaries and create places that are safe, psychological safety, and then ultimately create alignment along all or through relationships. So you're not like the earlier version of myself, which was last 3 years ago, who didn't check her alignment of her tires and drove on the same tires and then ended up on the side of the road. Don't be that person. Don't be the old version of me, right? Check your alignment. And then if you want to reach us, we have a QR code. Take your phone, have a look. You can scan for a complimentary strategy call with myself. Um, Karimah has her workbook. Highly recommend you get it. Oh, let me go back. I accidentally moved it with my book. There's the QR code for her workbook and also these courses for clinicians and for everyone else who lives and breathes, who has sex or wants to have sex, right? It's really important if we were all healthier in our relationships with ourselves, others, if we were all balanced and we've all dealt with our wounds, childhood traumas, etc., this world would be such a better place. Because I don't know about you, but when I see so much of what's happening in our world, a lot of it I'm like, this is coming from a person who doesn't realize that they're hurt or they're responding to something that happened to them. Like, it's like that mama bear is like, you just need a hug. Well, sometimes a lot more than a hug. But you know what I mean? Like you need that support. And as human beings, we need relationship and healthy relationship. It's not all sexual. It's not all, doesn't have to be that way. It's
It
about
doesn't have
community.
to be all romantic, but
No, 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 no.
we
And
all need to connect and to feel safe. Those
yeah,
are our two basic
it,
needs.
exactly. And then with our partners, partner doesn't have to always be sexual. That
No,
affirming touch, like you mentioned, that is so critical. Where there's like no strings attached. It's just like I appreciate you, I see you,
I love you.
I love you. Like that's it. So
You are not
practice.
you are not alone.
You're not alone, right? And
Mhm.
touch. You may not have anyone with you in the house or where we are right now, but you know what? You can start with yourself. You can give yourself a hug, like
Yes.
a bear hug, your shoulders, and you just like, oh, I love you so much. Like it may sound ridiculous, but I'm like, I love me some me. I love me. Okay? I love me so much.
But
Right?
it's important for us to be able to know what we enjoy so we could communicate that with others.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
a little self-exploration is not a bad thing.
Oh, most 100%. It's important to know what you love. Sorry, I have asthma. I'm not laughing, but it's so true. And
Mhm.
these are all conversations we should be having with our loved one, our kids when they're young, teaching them these things so they don't learn in the streets because it ain't
Absolutely.
pretty out there, or only fans or whatever animus that they're going to be exposed to, right? So yeah, thanks for sharing. Anything else you'd like to add, Karima, before I?
Just remember to be open and to join the movement. Because if we are all touching with care and gentleness, if we are speaking with transparency and intention, and we're trusting with confidence, we can truly feel more connected and have an overall healthier life.
Well said. And we're going to share this mission. We're going to share this video. The replays will be available. We'll definitely have it on YouTube, hopefully in the next 24, 48 hours. And we'll go from there. Thank you for Karima. It has been a pleasure connecting with you, having this talk. And I'm hoping it'll be more like this. This is a topic that I feel should not just be reserved for Valentine's Day. That's why deliberately we're not doing this at Valentine's Day. It's like, no, this is
Mhm.
365 days a year.
That's the whole point. If we're doing it every day, we can have the intimacy and the health that we really desire and the
Yeah.
relationship that we desire to.
Thank you so much. And thank you to our listeners for being here. Till next time, Dr. Mitchell, have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.